Alrighty, so let's talk about this. The future of AI explained in 5 sci-fi films in 10 minutes. I'm going to rattle through this, ladies and gentlemen. So, beyond media and the current hype around ChatGPT, I suppose if I had £1 for every time I'd heard that mentioned today, I'd be a rich man, has led to many saying, well, where is this heading, okay? And no one can predict the future with certainty, and anybody that can tell you that they can is fibbing. But we can draw on the expertise of experts like Max Tegmark, Nick Bostrom, Jaron Lanier, about how AI's integration into society is going to, I suppose, unfold. So ultimately, I'm going to tell you about 5 outcomes of the future, I suppose, AI's future impact on consumers using 5 popular sci-fi films as a reference point. And I'm going to rank them on a likelihood from very unlikely or highly unlikely to unlikely to even chance to likely, and then finally highly likely. And that's how we're going to do it. And this is, I suppose, a tour of IA's possible endgame about what brands can do to prepare, starting with, predictably, The Matrix, where humankind is enslaved. Let's see. So, look, in case any of you haven't seen The Matrix, and I met somebody just that hadn't, AI becomes conscious and enslaves the human race to harvest their bodies for power. Now, there is concern in some circles that businesses experimenting like yours in AI or funding AI could bring about the end of the world. Literally, you've heard it here said already. And I suppose if there's no humans left, then there's no need for the IAB and there's no need for media planning, so in which case we can all go home. Well, that's obviously not true. I still think it's worth raising, though, because there is so much chat about this sort of this end-of-time style thinking. So, in The Matrix, and in case any of you don't know, it involves Neo, played by Keanu Reeves, who discovered that reality is an AI-powered illusion and he has to break out of it. And in it, Agent Smith, who is an AI, says of The Matrix, I hate this place. Well, that's a really interesting point to raise, really, because AI expert Max Tegmark says an AI can't hate anything. That's the key to this, okay? An AI only exists to optimize towards a goal, and AIs don't set the goal. We set the goal. That is the point. We tell AI what good looks like. We tell AI what bad looks like, and actually that's why the P in GPT stands for pre-trained. We pre-train the AI. Also, so therefore, the only way that an AI, like in The Matrix, can have a nefarious goal is if a human gives it that nefarious goal, and also, if anybody does give it a nefarious goal or a bad goal, then it can also be a human programming an alternative AI to countermand that goal. Also, Jaron Lanier, and also a Silicon Valley luminary, said, AIs will never eliminate us because AIs could only exist to crunch data. So with no humans to produce data, there is no data to crunch. It's like a school with no pupils. It's like a hospital with no patients, okay? And so, ultimately, in The Matrix, the AI uses humans' body heat to generate power. It doesn't need body heat. It needs our data of us living our lives in the outside world. And therefore, without us, AI can never be, and therefore AI are never going to get rid of us. That is the way the theory goes. So I am ranking this as highly unlikely. So you can all go to bed tonight, meaning that the Matrix will probably not happen. What does that mean for us as marketeers? First of all, brands dabbling in AI are unlikely to enslave the human race. So congratulations on that one. I mean, Elon and other experts in AI are causing for a pause in AI, but the CTO of Meta said, no, you can't enforce a pause. The genie is out the bottle. Investing in responsible development is actually the way forward. And so I would urge you to, obviously here today, continue investing or investigating in AI with responsibility. Second film, maybe some of you have seen this, Her, the virtual assistant. What happens in Her? Well, there's a nice picture of Joaquin Phoenix there. So a lonely divorcee acquires an AI assistant to help reorganize his life, and fixing its admin, it soon progresses to relationship advice, leading Theodore to fall in love with his VPA. Samantha, played by Scarlett Johansson, becomes a life filter for the quality control, I suppose, acting on the sheer amount of data that he experiences every day. Global data output will top 175 zettabytes per year by 2025. That's enough to stream Netflix continuously for 19 million years, okay? And that is why algorithms are now part of our life, sifting and sorting that data. And ChatGPT and Bard are just new phases of that sifting and sorting. But imagine, like in the film Her, where he has his VPA with his sexy voice by Scarlett Johansson. Imagine you give ChatGPT or Bard a voice technology interface. That is where it really gets interesting. That is actually quite possible. The thing that's maybe combating that is, I know we heard the guys from Magic talk about smart speakers. Smart speakers actually, growth has dropped from 42% to 4.2%. People aren't buying them anymore. And also, smart speakers, in many cases, the evidence suggests that I think it's 67% of women and 54% of men say their smart speaker doesn't understand what they're saying to it. We're still not quite there yet. However, if we crack those two challenges and we continue to develop the ChatGPTs and the Bards of this world, and the voice assistant technology does get better and it understands context, I think that we could have that sooner than we think. And I think we have an even chance of a digital VPA or a virtual personal assistant becoming part and parcel of our lives. Will anybody ever fall in love with one? Well, in 2019, a Japanese man married a hologram, so it is actually possible, I suppose. The action for you guys is that generative conversational AI will only be ever as good as the quality of the data it ingests. So ensure the publicly available info is accurate for people using chat and Bard to ask about your brand. But be extremely careful about having your employees write things into ChatGPT that are private, because they will become public by definition. And also, we may have to come to an era where we have to get past these VPAs as gatekeepers with our branded messaging. And so that's definitely something to think about. Third one, Minority Report, the all-seeing AI. Big picture of Tom Cruise in a vest there. Do we know the scenario, which is that AI becomes deep linked into every interaction, from communication to commerce to law enforcement, and John Anderton receives an eye transplant to hide from the gaze of an all-seeing AI. Now, here in this world, in this world, the AI acts as a bio passport, and John Anderton enters a shopping mall, and immediately his eye scanned and bombarded with tailored ads calling his name as they see him. And they're all addressed by this avatar salesperson. Now, all the AI technologies from Minority Report exist now, okay? So we have personalized messaging, you all know that, you know. We have virtual avatars as well. We have things called metahumans, which uses AI to animate the face. And we also have, well, we don't have eye recognition, but we have facial recognition, an industry worth 40 billion per year. So it's already come true then? Well, no, because interesting debate. I think we are more now all acutely aware of our data privacy and the dangers of an over-surveilled society, which I think is interesting, and the attention on the quality of that data that reflects our prejudices and biases, I think is really, really prevalent. And governments are responding as well. In Europe, we now have GDPR. In the US, there is CPRA. Big tech is responding. Google is ending third-party cookies. And this month, the EU voted to ban biometric surveillance. So is it likely? Well, I would say ultimately that interactive media experiences powered by AI are highly likely. So using AI and their algorithms to understand the way that facial recognition moves and to input them into let's say, automated avatars, but the intrusive tracking is unlikely if robust privacy laws, which are burgeoning and actually becoming much more sophisticated and pointed, actually persist. I think that is unlikely. What do you do if you're a marketer? Well, I would say you need to prepare for AI-powered interactivity. As I said, those touch points, those advanced holographic interfaces, but data privacy must continue to be watertight and above board as the technology capabilities be addressed. So in other words, the data must continue to be used fairly and as bias-free as possible. Next film, 2001: A Space Odyssey, the IT meltdown. You've just seen this slide not moments ago, actually. What happens? Well, a ship's AI goes rogue after misinterpreting its objectives, and it kills its astronaut crew. So what happens is that 2 astronauts abort their mission fearing that the artificial intelligence is malfunctioning. But the artificial intelligence has a goal to complete its mission at all costs and says, this mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it. And then onto the famous exchange, which you've just seen. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Experts are already talking about AI hallucinations. Has anybody heard that term? It means it's when an AI is confident about its answer, but wrong, because it's based on a deep underlying misinterpretation of the data. And that's actually a more likely explanation. You know, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, said no one in the field has solved the hallucination problem, and all models have this as an issue. So this is actually more of a likely scenario than the Matrix, ultimately. You know, how many of us have had the blue screen of death? How many of us had an update that takes our phone down? When AI goes wrong, that is actually a very likely outcome. AIs are not immune. There's poor software costs of the US $2.1 trillion a year, and there's been high-profile IT meltdowns for some of the biggest companies in the world. So therefore, I would say an everyday AI meltdown is highly likely. An existentialist AI meltdown, where we're all taken out by AI, I would say is unlikely, but it's still more likely than a Matrix-style dictatorship. And so marketing, from a marketing point of view, you know, don't endanger your customer relationships through poor IT. Remember, driverless cars still have airbags and seatbelts. And test and learn, but always have a human as your safety net. Last one, Blade Runner, the tool. Why do I say that? Oh, and spoiler alert with this next one. I'm talking about Blade Runner 2049. A human and a replicant, an AI designed for hazardous labor, produce a child. So in Blade Runner, Blade Runners spot rogue replicants using a test which reveals their fake emotional responses and identifies non-humans. And why that's important is that the replicants have false emotions, and those false emotions prevent true creativity. So in one scene, one of the replicants plays a piano but realizes her abilities are just implants. So Blade Runner is ultimately saying that creativity flows from genuine human emotion and exists to elicit genuine human emotion. And that's really, really important. You know, today's generative AI prompt humans to produce, but at the end of the day, we are more likely to use the output of those AIs to prompt us to further creativity. So creativity needs humans and machines working together. And actually, again, spoiler alert with Blade Runner 2049, there is a union of Homo sapiens and artificial intelligence. They have a child. Is that realistic? Well, futurist Kevin Kelly talks about centaurs, half humans, half machines, each complementing each other's strengths and weaknesses. Here's the key point to end. Historically, we have used human augmentation for 200,000 years. Our history is inextricably bound up with tools. An axe is an extension of the arm, a wheel is an extension of the leg, a bicycle is an extension of the leg, a phone is an extension of the voice, and AI is just an extension of the brain. So we are not about to just stop being the users of tools. We have done it for 200,000 years. So therefore, AI expert Max Tegmark says, we should look to safeguard our future by making sure that our goals and AI's goals are ultimately intertwined via a merger. And he is ultimately suggesting, like the way that warring families in Europe would somehow marry to create an offspring that would unionize both houses, we should merge with technology in order that we both have the same goals and the same interests. Does that sound implausible? Well, Elon is currently working on Neuralink, just in case anybody's in any doubt. So I am going to say that that is actually quite likely. Actions for marketeers: you can no more ignore these tools than a tribe can ignore the invention of the stone axe. Your competition will embrace them because, again, it is a tool, and we have used tools for 200,000 years, and this is the ultimate tool. So instead, learn to experiment responsibly, learn to innovate responsibly. That is key. You know, over the mid to long term, find out what AI can do that you can't, but equally what you can do that AI can't. And we will need to be unionized with AI in order to make the best of both worlds. What is the summary? First of all, focus on the right thing. Don't worry about AI causing the end of the world. Double down on your business sustainability strategy, particularly as AI is a huge driver of emissions. Secondly, AI obviously stands for artificial intelligence, but it can also stand for always integrated. Have process, have experts working on how to integrate that new technology into your campaign strategies. VPAs and AI avatars could be on the media plans for the future, so you need to know how to use them and you need to have your partners ready. Respect consumers' privacy. You know, using an AI in your business should not be at the expense of your consumers' data and privacy rights, including your third-party tools, and remain ethical and know the law. 4, build safeguards, introduce AI cautiously, render your experiments safe for consumers. And last, embrace progress. This is happening. Do not resist these tools. Instead, work on ways to absorb AI's benefits and to aid the ad industry and to help consumers by reasserting matchless human qualities. Thank you.